And welcome to this yet another conversation. My name is Andrew Chiamagero, and we have had conversations in the previous past ever since this year started. Actually, prior to this year, we had these conversations. It's about elections. Now, given that 18 million Ugandans went to polls in 2021, your voices were heard, and a couple of you still have, glitches here and there about who you voted for and what was announced. To bring this conversation to context, together with me today, I have the spokesperson of the Electoral Commission of Uganda, Mr. Paul Bukenya. Good afternoon, Mr. Bukenya, again.
Good afternoon, Andrew, and good afternoon to our viewers. Always exciting to be on NTV.
I know it is very exciting, but we are done with elections, and we want to check if what the Electoral Commission told us in the roadmap was achieved, because the roadmap of the election, it had before the elections, during the elections, then after the election.
Sure.
So from where you stand as Electoral Commission, what is the status of the roadmap?
Yeah, Andrew, thank you for asking that question. And our viewers, we issued a roadmap for the general elections in December 2018. And we're glad to report that we've been able to successfully conclude the roadmap and within time. Now the roadmap is of course based on the constitutional timelines. Elections have to be held in the first 30 days of the last 122 days of a term of office.
Yes.
The term of office for this government expires on the 12th of May, and we're glad to note that as we speak right now, Ugandans have moved the journey, of course, with the Electoral Commission leading, and so many other stakeholders playing a big role, political parties which presented candidates, the voters who supported candidates. And eventually, at the end of it all, we've had the elections held and positions filled at the presidency. There's a president-elect at parliamentary level, constituency level. 353 constituencies have elected members of parliament. The cities and districts have women, the woman representative to parliament. The special interest groups also have elected their representatives. And then when it comes to local governments, all structures of local government have had as Electoral Commission. We consider it a very, very big achievement to roll out a roadmap and achieve it, and to be able to do it during a time of COVID. So the status as it is, the job is done.
It was logistical and industrial, should I call it, execution from where I stand. But then how many positions did we fill in the elective polls we've just covered in 2021?
Well, what we filled, for example, the presidency is one position, like I mentioned. Then constituency elections, we have 353 constituencies that are directly represented. We have 146 districts and cities. We have 10 cities and Kampala capital city. Then we have 135 districts.
When you talk about the cities, I know you've covered them, but there is a contention coming in. Wakiso district soon is going to be given a city status. That's what we're hearing in the corridors. So the LSC5 of Wakiso is equally covering Entere. Now, these are two cities in contention. That is something coming on a later board. I don't know if EC is actually ready to take it up when that happens.
Well, there are, of course, laws that govern when a new administrative structure comes up, or an administrative unit for that matter. But as it is now, for purposes of 2021 general elections, we had Wakiso as a district.
Okay.
So
Entebbe
still remains a municipality. If and when it is elevated, the laws that govern elections apply. But we elect that now in the next general elections.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then. Do you want to imply, you alluded earlier that very many positions were filled up. Didn't we have positions that are missed that were not filled up, that they didn't have candidates, or they had some technical challenges or logistical challenges from a part that people didn't go to polls and vote for that?
Well, as much as possible, we set out to have everyone vote, but during a very big logistical activity and big exercise like that nationwide, involving so many levels, you probably get an area or two somewhere that are not able to either conduct or conclude the elections. So, for example, we do have at presidency, of course, we're elected. At parliament, all the positions in parliament are filled. At district and city chairpersons, we do have all the chairpersons elected, and councillors. And then when it comes to cities and mid-cities, city divisions and municipalities, it's the same story. We do have elected candidates, areas, some electoral areas. They are few. They are really scattered. Where, for example, we've seen in the elections were not filled for that.
So it was one stage that affected the entire
so it remains, and they're really isolated, so we can put our performance at 99.9% because almost all. Then, of course, when we had elections, rather nominations, over a period of time after nominations, you could find a place where a candidate died. And they died close to elections.
Yes, we had one of the one of Vienna Rem in the side of the east. Hadjet.
But of course, remember that was within time for us to nominate again.
Yes.
But now there are some, especially at councillor level.
On the eve of the election.
Yeah, it becomes hard because we fill so many positions. The chances that you may lose a candidate before polling day to just to death, which can happen, also happens, and for that reason, you find that there is an area that is not elected. Now, when that happens, what we do is to ask returning officers, can you give us a report about the elections in your electoral district? Were you able to have all the positions filled? And if there is any such, then we look at it and determine what action can be taken.
So, what becomes of those positions? Will we fill them up? Because that is denying Ugandans their rightful franchise to exercise their right and freedom to vote for people they want to lead them. What becomes of the positions? I understand they're in silos, but we have to address it at the end of the day. So what is he doing about those positions?
Well, when we get such information, then we write a report. If a returning officer reports and explains what has happened, then you are able to seek legal advice, for example, from the Attorney General, because these are general elections.
Yes.
There is a period for organizing and conducting general elections, the first 30 days of the last 122 days. If some election is not held within that period, then you need to really be justified and to seek to have an instrument to allow you to conduct that election. So as and when such cases are identified, and we know one or two somewhere could come up, you get the necessary legal advice and you organize for them to have the elections, so that the councils are filled, so that there is no council which remains such an incident. Other than that, almost all positions are filled. They have elected leaders.
Okay. I know, Mr. Paul Bukenya, you wouldn't love to get into this conversation, but I'll bring it to context. The presidential election and the president-elect, the one who was announced by EC, there is still a petition in court, but we want to discuss matters in court. And we have parliamentary MPs who have petitioned about their win. They feel that either were cheated or something of the sort. But I want to know, I'm very interested, have you gazetted the presidential and parliamentary results as per the law?
Presidential elections are published already and out gazetted. Presidential elections are out already, and they've been published by the Electoral Commission officially. Parliamentary elections the results of parliamentary elections were also compiled and signed off for publishing. I think we should look at the Gazette of Friday. Gazettes come out on Fridays, and this Friday, 19th, we should have that Gazette out. And, then now that becomes really official, because the Gazette becomes then the official publication of the results.
Then when are you gazetting the local, the local council results? Or
the local government councils form the biggest, the volume that we ever handle. And we're going to handle it in phases. We've not yet published the results of the local government elections, the local government councils elections at the various levels. Of course, people know who has won because we've veiled the results from the time the returning officers made the announcements. But what we're going to do is to publish them in a phased manner. Of course, they're already a big volume, so district and city, and then, of course, later on the smaller volumes, the categories, municipalities and city division. But that is work in progress. We've not yet published local government councils elections, but we're working on it because we know that we have to make the list public and official.
I will go back again to something to do with the presidential election results. How do I, as a Ugandan, access the presidential results? I need to know, as a Ugandan, and this is a question I asked even when I was at the Tally Center, how were these results coming in? Until when you told us that, yes, you guys had internet, and while the rest of the country was in a darkout. Can I, as a Ugandan, access the results of the presidential election on your portal or on your site? And how do I
Tally Center? Yes. But like we told you, straight from the time of design of our program and our project for election results transmission, we meant it to be private. We meant it to be a private network. It was never supposed to be. No. It was never supposed to be out there open for anyone to hack in. When you create a private network, you've protected it from a potential hack. That is the security measure. And like you told you,
I choose to disagree
with you here. I can choose.
Security measure, but we have marvels and we have experts in this country that are very much grounded in IT that could have protected the country.
No, you don't risk it.
You cannot deny us a freedom of expression.
No. The right to organize and conduct elections is the Electoral Commission.
Yes.
So we can determine the manner in which to protect the integrity of the process, including deploying technology. So if we create a private network, because the telephones were on, the phones were not cut off, there was a phone network working.
But mobile money was
the internet has, that's not my mandate. I can't talk about it.
But you said your system, you had planned about it and you thought about it 2 years before.
No, when we were designing,
that was the design.
We meant it to be private because that's how you secure election results. So what if someone logs in when you are out there on the internet? The server for the internet is somewhere in Stockholm or in California or whatever. When you create a private network, you are able to do a network that serves only the points that where entry is only restricted and permitted to points that you've allowed.
Is it right then for our Nayinchi Ugandan like me as someone to want to think that because EC planned to have this private portal where they're getting the results from, is it right for me to say that you connived with government to shut down
No, we cannot.
Times of election?
No, we cannot, because we designed this as our approach. We cannot dictate how the regulator.
That what you designed kept running, yet ours.
But such systems, private networks can run. You know that people eventually have been using virtual private networks in the absence of social media.
VPN
we created our private network. That's what I can tell you, and so it's allowed
access the
in the law.
Results?
Eventually, of course, even on that.
I was, and I'm still not satisfied, just like any other Uganda. Because, Mr. Kenya, if the internet is off and all other modalities of bringing the data to the National Tally Center are questionable, as a Ugandan in a digital age under a shutdown of internet, I must question. What are we doing here? How credible is this process? Would it have been better if EC said, yes, we're going to have elections, but we're having a private network? The internet could stay on.
But we explained how we're transmitting.
You've said it's about security. Government said it's about security. So what a coincidence of answers and the timing. Mr.
But security is key. You can't tell me how you protect your home.
I believe that.
If you tell me how you protect your home, then you have become
vulnerable. You denied us a right, EC, to know how these results go. up there, and I'm still going to put this to you, Mr. Kenya, until when we'll get to the bottom of this.
Well, but you can access results even on that at that time, like you were taken through. Districts had they were displaying publicly the results as they were being tallied. At the center had the same display screens and a whole section for media and for observers and for party candidates. So I think that's how you also manage elections and sensitive information like that.
Okay.
Sensitive information is protected. There is a firewall here at NTV. You don't
of course,
you don't just access the servers here. You are so strict on who can access or how people use the internet when
and
they're
passwords
inside
are reviewed every other week.
So it is a normal, I think, practice in the world of technology where someone can easily interfere with your system and cause a problem. I think we're able to do that, but also the results have been published. They're on the website. The results in summary form, district tally sheets can be downloaded from the Electoral Commission website. They've been there since, you know, after the declaration of the results. I think from 19th of January, we loaded them up there. The polling station summary, the tally sheets for polling station. So you can go there and look at them. And,
but how
and
do
if you
I
want to
access
question,
them? How do I access them? You're talking technology, you know, terms, going on the website and all that. If I'm just a normal Ugandan user and I have a phone, can I go on my phone?
You can still use that. Of course, there's a limitation to what the phone can do because these are volumes. We're talking about tally sheets from 34,000, you know, polling stations, 34,000.
I could be interested in Nakawa West
600 and yeah, it's you. Pages, it would still be difficult to bring that volume to Omuntu once.
Yes.
So what you can do is to make sure that it's available digitally, but the results have also been given to all presidential candidates, the candidates who participated in the election, as well as the political parties that we have in Uganda. So our results of presidential elections are public information and they're out there.
Well, if you want to be a part of this conversation is going live on our YouTube channel, NTV Ugandan. The same applies on our Facebook, and it doesn't stop there. This conversation is still very much more live on your TV. Be a part of this conversation. You're going to call us on 0700 65 65 00. Let me go about that again. 0700 65 65 00. That will be the number to call. Give us a call later. If you have a question, you're looking at the post-election programs from the Electoral Commission, you want to quantify if the Electoral Commission is still running by their roadmap and how they did it. Mr. Kenya, if I want to challenge the results, especially presidential and parliamentary results, how do I challenge the results you've given us?
Well, our laws, our electoral laws provide for, you know, means and avenues where you can challenge the results of elections. And for that matter, you can file a petition in the courts of law. For presidential elections, the law talks about 15 days, within 15 days after the announcement of the results. And like you know, there is actually a petition on that particular elective position. So I think that is the direction that the aggrieved candidate took, which is provided for in the law. The law provides for that as opposed to, you know, going in the street and, you know, becoming violent and all that. You put your case together and go before the Supreme Court and say, I'm challenging the result of the election.
So let's assume I wasn't a candidate. I'm just, you know, a patriot of this country, and I loved my candidate to the bit, and I believed with all honesty that he won the elections, but he was cheated. From my perspective, as a Ugandan, please hear me out. I feel he was cheated. Can I go in court of law and I contest the results on behalf of my candidate?
At presidential level, you know, the law talks about a candidate, an aggrieved candidate for presidential elections.
At parliamentary level?
At parliamentary level, it talks about a candidate.
Yes.
So if you're a voter in that constituency, you can challenge the results of elections. But the law talks about, and we have Section 60 and subsection 3, I think, of the Parliamentary Elections Act. It talks about having a number of supporters drawn from within that particular constituency to support your petition. So it's not a matter of saying, I'm not satisfied with the results of the elections, so I am going to courts of law. No, you must have the support. You must obtain the supporters from within that constituency, and the laws prescribe that. The same with you can do that for parliamentary. You can challenge the elections, the results of elections within 30 days after the Gazette has been published. So for now, since the Gazette has not yet come out, we expect that on Friday, this Friday 19th. No one has gone out at parliamentary level to challenge elections because the results had not yet come out.
The law is clear.
But when they do, then you can use any time within 30 days from the date the results are published. For local government councils, the law talks about 14 days after the publishing of the results. So I think that is the different levels that we look at.
Earlier on, you alluded to that if I am a voter and I want to contest these results, I should have the support of other voters within my constituency. By that you mean signatures.
Yeah, that means...
How many are they?
You must have... That means you don't just come up and say that we are contesting the election. It means that you must have supporters who support that particular... I'm trying to look at the number that you must have... There's a number that is prescribed in under Section 60 of the Parliamentary Elections Act. I have not noted down the particular number,
but you should have enough signatories
from within, and there must be voters from within that particular constituency.
So how do you know that it's a voter?
First of all, we have a register, so we'll cross-check that, and the courts of law will require that you fulfill that requirement. Otherwise, your application will not be successful.
Okay.
So if you're preparing to challenge the result of elections, yes, well, it's provided for, it's lawful, it's within. Like we always say, petitions are part of the electoral process. Following the conclusion of elections, you can challenge the results of the elections by going to courts of law, but you must have that support.
Okay.
Yes.
We're still having a conversation about the post-election programs that is underway. You can give us a call a little later, 0700 65 65 00.
Your candidate
I just can't wait for. But you see, their candidates, I can't wait to actually swear in. Like
at what level?
At parliamentary level. I come from Nakawa West. I can't wait for the MP to go through. I have my councillors, my women councillors. I have the youth councillors. I can't wait for them to swear in and get into office. Yet I still have contention on other positions, which I won't mention here. But when are they swearing in?
The term of office for this current government, and by that we mean the structures of leadership from presidency, parliamentary and local government, expires on the 12th of May.
Okay.
So that's why we have actually the first swearing in at national level, the presidency on the 12th of May. So that's when the president-elect swears in. And then we transition into another term. So that also sets now the stage for other levels.
These months are meant to hand over peacefully and do the transition.
Of course, the period that is left within the law is long enough to allow for, if you challenge the results of elections, for example, and you know that the court advised and mentioned and emphasized, that is hard and determined within 45 days after the petition has been lodged. And then, of course, now there are other processes that, what if there is a tie, or what if there is no clear win and there is a rerun, or what if the court rules and says you conduct the elections afresh. So the lawmakers provided for some time between the elections, when we have the elections, within the 30 days, and then another period within which you can organize, maybe if you have to do a rerun or you have to repeat the election or things like that. And then the handover is in May. Of course, that also is good enough to allow for transitional issues that could be necessary for the elective position. So Parliament will swear in after the 12th of May, and then local governments also will follow suit.
That's very interesting. I saw the request, the the requisition of money meant for swearing in of the presidency. Who organizes this swearing ceremony of the leaders? I need to know.
Now, when our job stops at organizing the elections and announcing the winners and presenting them by way of publishing their names in the Gazette, when we do that, then they are taken up by the necessary structures within the laws that govern their structures. For example, the swearing in is handled and coordinated by the Office of the Presidency, and then, of course, the State House. There are several entities at national level, and there's even a national organizing committee is in the picture as well, and so are other agencies, and then of course it's a national event, so it's organized at that level. But at that EC, we're just guests. We come in and do a formality of reading out the results again of the election and hand over to the Chief Justice to swear in. So we do not organize the swearing in at the presidency, neither do we at Parliament. Parliament has a clerk. The office of the clerk, when they receive the elected candidates, they start to prepare for their nominations. So they work out the necessary logistics for that. Like you mentioned, the budget. Then local governments also have clerks. They have clerks to the councils, they have town clerks, they have chief administrative officers who organize for the functions within the ceremonies. And of course they have the judges, the magistrates who administer the oath, and other related, support from other agencies of government. So ours then stops at organizing the election, announcing the winner and presenting them to the necessary authority or the structure in the law, who then now take on the next activity, which is to swear in the candidates.
Okay. We're getting there. Let's talk about the LOC1. When are the LOC1 elections to be conducted?
Now, we LOC1 elections are going to be a separate electoral program.
Why?
Because that's their law. The law for administrative unit selection prescribes them as separate. They follow a different arrangement. They are not part of general elections. So like we mentioned at the beginning, we've concluded the general elections program. The roadmap is concluded. And so administrative unit selections, and by that we mean the village cell, LC1, or the parish ward, LC2, their program is separate, and it's organized as a separate roadmap, which will issue in due course because the term of office for the LC1s is still on.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Bukenya, I'll bring this to your attention. We have run stories here in the media and beyond just the digital media. Some of your support structure, how can I damn them? Temporary election officials are complaining that you never paid them their allowances. Some worked under very harsh conditions. Allowances. These people, do you have enough money to pay them? What is the commission doing about that?
Yeah, concerning that, our workforce, our workforce is very important. We plan for our workforce, we budget for our workforce, and definitely we will be paying our workforce. We've actually already paid because we've worked over a long period of time. We've worked with the temporary election officials over the past, since we started roadmap activities, doing about almost 2 years, starting in 2019 when we rolled out the first field activities. So it's not true that first of all, it's not true that we don't pay them. We've been paying because there are so many activities that have been conducted. But yeah, there are some people, some temporary election officials who are still unpaid. There are some whose payment is not problematic. There are some whose payment has been problematic, which explains the delay in paying them. Some of the people we recruit are out there in the field. Out there in the districts, in the towns, the small villages, and we've been requiring to pay by e-cash, we use the phones
EFT.
let's talk about the phones, mobile money. And when we do that, we recruit you, we request for a number that you can use to pay your allowances. There's some allowance that can be paid cash.
Yes.
Like you just trained and you can get your training allowance there. And the allowances that we pay by e-cash, we pay through the phones.
Wow.
And that's a policy in the ministry. Wow. Now, there are some people who've had challenges with over the years, over the past few months through the roadmap, where payment has bounced, and we would understand it because we would request them to explain. You go and get a young man out there in the village, and he's a senior 4 leaver, which is a good standard for those people that work on certain groups, or senior 6 leaver, or even he's in the village and he's available. He's trainable. He has the requirements, he meets them. But when it comes to the number that he's going to use, he puts their uncle's number. So we've recruited Paul Bukenya. He's the one on our database. He has given us a number. And then when we send the money to the number he gave, it reads Andrew Chamagelo. Now that in the system automatically bounces. That's one of the categories that have been facing a very big challenge. When it bounces, it is another long journey to correct issues there. And sometimes it frustrates our staff, but we've been telling them, please, this could be the problem. But there are also others whom we've recruited and they have not been paid. We've gotten reports about some areas where police, because police had a budget for security, and some extra manpower that police deployed felt that they had to come to Electoral Commission for payment. You're trying to harmonize that you fall under police. Then there are some constables that fall directly under us, and we budgeted for them. So the principle is simple. For whoever we recruited, and appointed, and we have appointment letters, and deployed. Their money is budgeted for, and it will be paid. And now that our elections are over, the main activity that our officials are doing after sending in the results and all that is payment, because we have several people who have not picked their money. Others have even traveled back to some places or where they came from before they... so we're working on payment, and we gave ourselves timelines. So we say that 14 days, by end of Feb, we must have cleared outstanding. Okay. I think we'll get there.
Well, we'll get there, but I strongly believe we can, because we have 5 years to prepare for this anyway. Does this reflect on your delayed recruitment of these personnel, that they could have adequate training to execute whatever they executed? Because if they were recruited in time, you could actually have enough time to harmonize this kind of data that makes the money bounce back, or possibly that hinders the harmonization of this.
Well, while we emphasize it during...
Without saying COVID brought this.
No, it has nothing to do with COVID, I think. Even when we emphasize it during recruitment, still someone comes in and says, this is the number. And well, maybe now we should test it there and then. Yes. Try to send some money and we see if it reads the name. So maybe that's something we need to learn and do in the future. But certainly, we've not had a widespread problem, first of all. But where it has happened, it has really become a sore. We wouldn't want that to persist. Because these people, like you said, work so hard, they carry boxes, they endure rain and the heat and all that, and the pressure and the tension of elections. Yes. You want them to immediately, take their and there's no deliberate action to delay payment. It's because of some of those factors. But we also want the returning officer to carefully supervise the exercises through the supervisors that he or she superintends on the ground. Which is why sometimes payment is... First of all, payment is done after the exercise because we pay for work done. But remember also, after the exercise, the first thing everyone is asking for, where are the results? Where are the results? So the first thing that is given attention is the results. And then you need to get back now and say, I need to pay people's money. And then in some cases, our officials have had to travel distances to go out where people are, especially constables, because they got them from a police post, which is far, and you can't have them travel again. the journey back and forth will take almost the money, the allowance. So you arrange and you meet them where they are and you pay them. So that matter will be sorted out, and we'll stick to that principle. Whoever were recruited and appointed
and deployed,
they have an appointment letter and deployed to a polling station. We'll give them money. But there are also some people asking for money, which we will not pay because they did not work. We recruited you. Yes, we appointed you to organize elections, for example, for special interest groups. And then at village level, we had special interest groups elections. Yes, we even paid you. At parish level, candidates returned unopposed, and there was no election. So we didn't even set up a polling station. That one we've gotten a report, we've advised our returning officers, don't get in trouble because there was no election there, it was unopposed. So there was no activity. So we didn't have people manning a polling station because we never set up one.
Okay.
So there are people who are also expecting payment when actually they've not done the work. Although they were appointed, it's so turned out, yeah, you were appointed, you and said you're going to be an officer. And then we conducted a nomination and there was unopposed.
But so I showed up.
It changes. We pay for work done.
Come on.
So we pay for work done. That becomes a problem in accountability in audit.
Okay.
We wouldn't want to face the audit team and say,
you know what, good thing we are still having these programs with you, Mr. Bukenya.
Yeah.
We can't exhaust them. Vancouver, wherever you dream
this
or Bali, you need to race.
I know you want me to go for holiday, which I'll do.
So what happens to EC after elections are done?
Well, first of all, elections, yes, when they conclude an exercise like this one, the field activities are done, but a lot of work still remains. Some of the things that happen after the election, of course, are the post-election issues, like people are aggrieved by the result. There's going to be a petition. It also keeps you busy. But what we do after the election is to conduct an evaluation. And you want to do that when people are still fresh. So we conduct evaluation of the exercise. How was the exercise done? How was the election organized and conducted? What are the issues that you noted? Where are the strong points? Where did we really get it fine? Where did we, strike a very, very nice chord? And where is the challenge? What areas need to be strengthened? What areas need to be, do we need to go for legislation?
Or post-mortem?
You do a post-mortem and you look at it and you say, here we need to go back to the lawmakers and have them look carefully at this and propose an amendment. But there are reports that need to be done. Election observers wrote reports. What did they say about this? Eventually, the Electoral Commission also has to produce a report of the elections.
Okay.
It is a requirement by law. So it remains a busy season. But also, internally, the Commission does continuous training, capacity building of its staff, and also planning for the next cycle of elections, because we do have elections coming up. We've
in the
already
next
talked
5 years.
about.
So you're already planning for the next 5 years.
We've already talked about LC1 coming soon, and then we also have to, because elections are done over a 3-year budgeting cycle, 3 financial years. So that means by 2023, you're already going to be rolling out a roadmap for 2026 elections. So, and by law, the Electoral Commission is permanent, so work remains going on, and there could be, what will be, how will the courts determine the matters that are brought before them? What if they tell you to go back and organize an election at a parliamentary level, at a district level? Okay. You need to be ready for all that.
All right, Mr. Bukenya, welcome. And now it's a two-way broadcast live from NTV Uganda. We're live from Kampala Student Conference Center. Now it's a two-way traffic. You're going to give us a call, 0. Question here. Ronnie Boy. That's how he pronounces Ando. Wow. When we say that LOC ones will be separate electoral program because that is within the law. Ronnie Boy says, do we have the money to organize them? Why can't their wages be increased as well, the LOC chairpersons per month? That's a question we're going to respond to. Then Kutsi in Kumi says, in Kumi district, some parish elections officers haven't received payments of the July and August 2020, not because of the numbers, because they use the same numbers and got months of September and onwards. What happened to this money? Thank you so much, Kutsi. Okay, someone, please make sure that your tweets are not abusive. Then I can be in position to read your question as and when they come through. That is NTV Uganda. I'm trying to read these, your questions as and when they come through. There is another person here saying that this is Eli Mihingo. Says, I'm very disappointed in you, Kenya, what you're saying on national television. That is his opinion, and we will respect that. Coming here on Twitter, Emily Chigundu wants to have a call. Emily, you can give us a call on 0700 65 6500. Hello, NTV? Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, hello?
Hello?
Yes, what's your name? I can't hear you audibly enough. Okay, carry on.
Hello?
Yes, Sebo.
Hello?
Yes, hello?
Yeah, this is Emily Chigundu.
Yes, Emily Chigundu. Okay, what's your question?
Yeah, now I'm asking Mr. of Kenya. When he says that they created a private network, we have, because we guys here in the battle, we are network experts, you know. So I want him to explain which kind of network. Is it physical? Is it You can't convince me that the government is unable to run the fiber cable in all districts of Uganda, when even in some areas of the Kampala suburbs we don't have the fiber. So which kind of network you guys do you use?
Thank you so much, Emily Chigundu. He's going to respond to that. Hello, NTV. We have another caller. 0700 65 65 00. That's the line to call, and Mr. Kenya will respond. Hello? 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 Okay, we have dropped that one. Let's get another one. NTV, hello? Hello? Okay, kindly stay away from your TV station, or just mute your TV, and then you can make a call that we can hear you. We don't get feedback. NTV, hello?
Yes, hello.
Yes, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Yes, my name is Patrick. I'm calling out from Manafa.
Yes, Manafa, carry on.
So I'd like to ask Mr. Kenya. He has said that if in case someone has got an appointment later, but maybe they cancel the hour because somebody was a single person, they can't get, and so this person will not be paid. But Mr. Kenya, I want to just remind him that if in case I've come, that means psychologically I've been tortured, physically I've come, I've cancelled that day, so why should I miss out on my money? You have to take off my money.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Patrick. One last call, and then Mr. Kenya can respond to these. So we just have a few minutes to go. 0700 65 65 00. Hello? Hello, NTV.
Hello?
Yes, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello?
Yes, hello.
Yes, you're speaking to Derek from Buyanda.
From?
I wanted to commend Kenya's
Okay.
Oh,
thank you so much. That one was commending you. I need one more question. I won't count that. NTV, one more caller.
Please.
One more caller. One more caller. Hello.
Yes, Chairman.
Yes, boss. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Jason, and I'm calling from Stende.
Yes.
Now, my question is simple. We've had
different variations depending on the results and the way they were announced. When the paper was announced in the race, that some of the polling stations were not included because of some issues that happened during the process.
Yeah.
Now, how comes the whole percentages they were tied together, including the polling station, because they are reading all the polling stations.
I hear. Invalid and valid.
And everything was percentaged based on the number of polling stations. Yet some of the results in different polling stations were not included. Can Mr. Kenya cross some light on that?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's a colleague in Chitende. So, Mr. Kenya, have questions from Twitter. Please remember the question that was asked. That came in from one person in Kumi. This person says that they were paid in September and in August, and their money was meant to actually come through, and it used to come through. They're still using the same numbers, but their money is not coming. What became of that money? They want to know what became of that money. Let me just try to get this question in. I read it for you. That was Kutsi. It says in Kumi, some parish election officers haven't received payments of July and August, I beg your pardon, of 2020. Not because of the numbers, because they use the same numbers and got months of September and onwards. The 2 months, where did they go? Then Susan Musime on Twitter says that, what is the exact pay allocated to the presiding officer and the polling assistant according to Electoral Commission? Because there are reports in the corridors, Mr. Kenya, if you didn't know, that if someone was designated comes from you exactly, and yeah, you can respond to the calls that came through as well.
Thank you.
Someone
thank you.
commended you for your work, by the
Wow. Yeah, that was done. Yeah. Thank you that you've included it. And I appreciate that. I appreciate the positive feedback and also the other views that are coming through. They will help us to get our work done better. Now, Kutsi from Kumi said that some parish officials were not paid for some months.
July and August 2020.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, we need to identify and isolate issues here. Especially if we're talking about parish supervisors and sub-county supervisors. These are our long-term temporary officials. Well, they're temporary, but they are still long-term. If you put together the months that they've worked for us, you can even come close to a year. So these are people we have in our database. If you've ever been paid before, there's no reason why you should be paid your full payment, especially for the time worked. I know that we recruited supervisors over a period of time, but there's a time when we didn't work. There are some months that we've not paid because they were not working. We pay for work done. So, yes, that is the principle, and it is in the appointment letters.
That if we don't come in your area...
For example, we've had activities, but we took a break between activities. For example, we registered voters, and they did a very wonderful job.
If I'm given a contract to work as a news anchor at NTV, and I show up and you guys have issues with your lights or your cameras... It's
different.
You don't pay me?
No, we can't use that analogy here. The terms of and conditions are totally different. We pay for electoral. The roadmap is over a period of almost 3 years. We recruit supervisors who do temporary work.
In phases?
And in phases, and you may find that the total combined months that they've worked, although it's a 3-year period, they've worked for 12 months. So we pay for 12 months. Then whatever they owe us, that will be paid, because like I told you, whoever is appointed, whoever is recruited and appointed and deployed will definitely be paid. We cannot risk our staff, our temporary staff. But we also have staff who have disciplinary issues, whom we've taken disciplinary actions against, who have gone through processes, been discontinued and things like that. Okay. But I don't want to speculate about their condition other than encouraging them to pursue their payment. And I've told you that after elections, what we are doing now, the major activity of the Electoral Commission is to pay suppliers,
how do I pursue
to
my
pay
payment?
NTV. You've done a wonderful job. We've been coming here and doing programs. There's a lot of things that we're putting right.
Yes.
So I don't think NTV can say Electoral Commission has not paid us when we are still with them.
Let's bring it to a presiding officer.
Yeah.
How do I pursue my payment? Because I'm a presiding officer, for crying out
Well,
loud.
they were appointed and they have appointment letters.
So they
and
come
they are
to EC
valued.
offices?
They are still our officials. At that moment, that is the election official. A presiding officer supervises, superintends over a polling station, a critical one. You know that there are some polling stations which never return results. The 83 that they're talking about, someone mentioned some polling stations already. That's why we're putting them to task. So a presiding officer is a very important official of the Electoral Commission, although they work for 2 days or 4 days. So their pay was 50,000 shillings per round of
Presiding
election.
officers.
A presiding officer. Then the polling assistant is 40,000 per round of election. No, that is it. That's what we put in the terms and in the appointment letters.
That brings me to the question of the LOCs. Someone asked, when are you going to review how much LOCs earn? Because I see, is it 10,000 Ugandan shillings?
Well, our job is to organize and conduct elections for administrative units, LC, and after we do that, their welfare, their emoluments, their payments, and everything concerning how they do their work becomes the responsibility. We do not even get that far. We organize and conduct elections. That's our mandate.
Why do
now,
you
their welfare,
if someone is being paid 10,000 in 2021?
their terms are managed by different agents of government, the Ministry of Local Government. That's clearly outside now our mandate. It would be unfair for us to cross over.
Kenya, don't you find it ironical to organize an election of LC1, which is going to cost you billions of shillings?
Includes the allowances for local government. When they start their operations, they fall directly under the Ministry of Local Government, and they determine their activities, they determine their allowances and the other benefits that they extend to them. Okay. So I think that is a good concern, but it should be taken to the appropriate ministry for action. Okay. So there's someone who said is disappointed. I don't know why, but
he's disappointed about, and this was something to do with the feed, how you're getting the tallings. It's still one thing that still bothers my. At night when I'm sleeping, I still think, how did EC get these figures?
But how did
I was at the tally center, and this is a question I kept asking the chairperson. I equally asked you, and you said you had a different framework or structure where the results are coming through. Someone has asked that very question. What kind of structure? Was it fiber? Was it satellite?
Now, the same question has been put actually in one of the matters which are before court, and like you mentioned at the beginning, that we will try as much as possible not to venture into issues which are now before the courts of law. But like we mentioned, and that is general information which we gave, that because it has been answered, there's a full affidavit on this matter before the justices. I don't think I should dig deeper into that now, but like the general information we gave out, which I can still continue with, you know, you find it surprising that the very Ugandan who has been using a private network at the time when internet is off is still questioning that an agency of government has not been able to create a programmed, structured, and you know, supplied, you know, system, and it's still being questioned. But like I mentioned,
okay,
this is a matter.
We just want to know: was it satellite? Was it fiber? Just
this is a matter, and we are going to see it because we are going to engage on that. And I think Ugandans will have that settled. But I don't know why it's continuing. But for whatever reason, still it's a matter which is going to be explored.
We have trust issues now. Just trying to boost
because we came out as we came out clean on that. And I think we're going to be consistent in our statement on that. Now, there is, since it's a question before court, I think let's allow the detail to come out much more. Court, because even the service provider himself, when you're doing the contracts, you agree to certain clauses, confidentiality and all that. But a court has some powers that it can call for a contract and break down a few things. It's not their problem that in certain areas elections. But you know, when we, as Electoral Commission, when we organize elections, for example, and we go for nominations and the candidate is unopposed, we don't print ballot papers We don't send out polling kits. We don't send out the ballot boxes because there will be no election at that particular polling station. We don't recruit that particular person for that elective position. For example, we had polling stations with 3 boxes where we had an opposed member of parliament. We didn't recruit an official for a desk where there's no box.
But you give someone a contract.
Well, it is very clear that we are going to pay for work done. So I think when there is no work done, then there is no demand for payment. We even inform you that you do not show up because before the elections, we call these people. So I think it could be that their payment is over another allowance. And like I told you, payment is still ongoing. We've not even closed the financial year. We are still handling complaints about payment. We are still investigating people who say they've been paid less than what's on their appointment letters.
That is running.
But then we are still making payments that were not made because we're still doing elections. And we've even set targets for ourselves, like I mentioned, up to the end of this month. This matter has also come before.
Is there a way Electoral Commission can rectify the issues of payment? Because I'm looking at a presiding officer or a supervisor who is paid 50,000 Ugandan shillings. The level of a compromise when someone has a lot of money just to turn figures at the polling station, has EC considered to take this before the powers that be, that we need to review how much you're paying the presiding officers? Because if someone came, you're giving me 50,000 and I am a youth without a job, and someone brings 5 million and say, just turn around this. What is the margin of error that I'll stay with my integrity, because I'm looking at a national process here vis-a-vis how much you paid me?
Yeah, I think issues now can come in. Ethical issues can come in now but you also know that however much you pay someone, they can still turn around and do something. But the truth is that, yeah, we also want to give our staff a higher figure, and attract even, maybe even higher caliber persons and all that. Not that the ones who do the job are not fit for the job, but perhaps sometimes you find that you can only attract maybe a few young men and all that, who are then threatened by their elders, their uncles. Their head teacher in the community has come in and he commands you. So maybe some issues come up, but election budget remains. We review these elections.
Okay, in 1 minute, the last question.
Well, Chitende talked about valuations.
Yes.
83 stations. The 83 polling stations were not included in the final tally. We didn't even receive their results. So it doesn't need to confuse that. They are not reflected everywhere. That's why each candidate at that polling station has 0-0. And we explained why. Because their results never reached to the returning officer. Because either there was disruption during the counting process or the polling process.
Disruption in the system?
No. The disruption, people shouted, tear up things, and there's nothing to present. Or during the transportation, like we had in some cases, they were ambushed. Someone is ambushed and a box taken out from them and tampered with. So while candidates have DRR forms for that station, that box which we expect from the presiding officer never reached the returning officer. So we did not include. We explained that, and the 83, we even published them.
Okay.
So. Yeah, that could explain, I think, he doesn't need to include that in the final tally. It wasn't included.
And your results were cumulative.
They were cumulative and they built up. You were there, you watched the growth.
Cumulative. Yeah. Thank you so much, Mr. Ukenya. We always have this conversation, and it's my job to ask the questions, never take offense of that. Be it even your bosses, I have to ask the hard questions. Thank you so much, my fellow countrymen who have been a part of this conversation. It's not stopping here. We have started this conversation and it's still going to go again and again. You still have questions. You want to be much more cognizant of the process you are part of to the last bit of it. This conversation is still going. Please follow NTV on Twitter, Instagram and YouTube, and these questions will be posed as and when Mr. Paul Bukenya shows up here. I'm Andrew Chamagero. Coming up next, we're having the bit with the multi-talented young fanatics tycoons in the entertainment business. We'll take a break for now. Good afternoon.